What is going on, internet world? My name is Tommy. You probably know me as Rivet, and I'm your coach of the Atlanta Braviaries, the highest flying fly-sicking team on YouTube. And we are here today with our draft analysis and breakdown for the 6th season of the Showdown Draft Federation, the SDF, which is my league. I absolutely love this league. It's filled with fantastic battlers and fantastic people. If you are new around here, we are the reigning defending champions of the SDF, and we are looking to retain our title this season, and we have a fantastic team to do so. Without any further ado, welcome to the workshop. Alrighty guys, we're about to hop into our draft analysis and breakdown for the 6th season of the SDF. Just a quick little background before we get started. This is a points-based draft league where coaches have 110 points to draft 9 to 11 mons. It's pretty much free outside of that. This is National Dex Draft, cut moves and items and banner, all that, so we're pretty much just working with the current meta and Pokemon that obviously aren't in Sword and Shield. But with all that out of the way, let's hop into this. So if you were here last season, you know that our draft last season was absolutely silly. We got some incredibly busted stuff, Dragapult, Mega Gallade, Gliscor, Tapu Fini, and some other cool stuff in there as well. I definitely don't think that this team is as busted necessarily as the last team, but I think this is still a really strong squad. I got some stuff here that I wanted to try out. And I want to test my skill a little bit because, obviously Pult and M-Gal and all that, they take a little bit of skill, but obviously you can just absolutely bash them heads in. So I wanted to do something a little bit different this season and just, work with a style I haven't really tried out before. So we'll see how that goes. If it ends up biting me in the ass, then it bites me in the ass. But, that's how it works. So with my first pick, I definitely had something in mind. I hadn't used this mon before. I think it's very strong. People definitely have mixed perceptions on this mon. Some people think it's incredibly busted and it's totally skillless. Other people think it takes a little bit of skill to use. It has a high skill ceiling and can do very well. Other people think it's just atrocious and it's a shit mon and I shouldn't have grabbed it for as many points as I did. So I think it's pretty okay. I definitely don't think it's busted. For 17 points, I think it's pretty solid. So if you know anything about draft, you probably know where I'm going with this. But with my first overall pick, I believe it was the number 7 pick possibly. No, it was the number 9 pick. With my first overall pick, regardless, I decided to go with Zygarde 50%. Zygarde 50%, like I said, is an incredibly polarizing mon, but I think it has the potential to be an absolute beast this season. Zygarde obviously has a fantastic base stat total of 600, and it's incredibly bulky with 108 HP, 121 defense, and then 95 in special defense. Its attack is pretty okay at base 100, and it does have boosting options in Coil and Dragon Dance. It runs Choice Band okay, with a decent move pool with stuff like Extreme Speed, other moves like Stone Edge, but the main deal here with Zygarde is Thousand Arrows. Thousand Arrows is essentially the base move in the game. Base 90 power, physical, ground type move that knocks flying types out of the air, kind of like Smackdown. It's pretty much got no switch-ins. Some stuff that does resist Thousand Arrows, obviously, big, strong, grass types and bug types. Zygarde won't be super effective against, but it can run substitute sets with moves like Toxic and Glare to chip those things down as it is fairly fast. It has the potential to run very complex EV spreads, to accomplish pretty much whatever it needs. And so I think that Zygarde, I think it has the capacity to do good. I'm one of the people who thinks that it's not busted, but it does have a fairly high skill ceiling and can do some good stuff. So maybe the people out there who are laughing at me are like, oh, you're a dumbass, whatever. But I'm taking this as a little bit of a test for me to see how I can function without a totally just busted team. So I'm very excited for Heart of Nova here. I think it's definitely going to be really good. Obviously, its typing is fantastic offensively. Defensively, it leaves a little bit to be desired. That huge ice weakness is something I'll have to patch up later. It does give me an electric immunity right off the bat, which is very good. And obviously, Aura Break is pretty much totally useless. So I'm very excited for Zygarde. I think it has a lot of potential. I'm excited to see how I do with it. So moving into my next pick, I definitely wanted to patch up that ice weakness. I wanted something that paired very nicely with Zygarde, and I had a couple things in mind. I considered Slowking because I thought teleporting into Zygarde would be pretty okay, but I had another mon in mind. I thought it worked really, really well. Patched up that ice weakness, gave me a dragon immunity as well, which Zygarde doesn't enjoy, and it also gives me something else that Zygarde really loves as well. So with my next pick, I went with Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini was on the team last season. Esperanza back then did incredibly well, but I also think that our newly patented Moonstruck Blossom is going to do fantastic this season. An incredibly bulky water and fairy type with the Misty Surge ability. It's got a fantastic typing, both offensively and defensively in Water and Fairy, and a great dual stab in Scald and Moonblast. It gets other good moves such as Draining Kiss, Grass Knot. It can Calm Mind and Iron Defense. It can taunt stuff, haze stat boosts away, and do a whole bunch of other things. But Tapu Fini is an absolute beast. I enjoy using it so much. I love the typing, and I think it's going to work incredibly well with Zygarde. Like I said, their two typings have great synergy. But one of the things I'm most excited about for these two is the combination of Zygarde and Misty Surge. A lot of things, they just want to try to Toxic Zygarde on a switch in, or Toxic before I can get a sub up. But if I can have Misty Surge up, that gives me another level of handling Zygarde. It gives me way more free switch-ins, which I absolutely enjoy for this team. And it also just lets me, try to do some stuff without subsets. If I want to run Choice Band, it just gives me a little bit more options without having to worry about, Will-O-Wisp. Or if I don't have the room for substitute, then I can just run, something like Dragon Dance or Coil, Toxic, E-Speed, 1,000 Arrows. It just gives me a lot of variability in how I can use Zygarde, which I definitely enjoy. But just as a standalone mon, Tapu Fini is obviously an incredible beast. I put on a great show last season. I think I have the potential to use it really well. As I've been using it, I've been getting progressively better and better, understanding how it works, what it does well, how I can use it the most effectively. So I definitely have high expectations for Fini this season, especially how much I've used it in the past. And it just gives me an era of comfortability with some different things that I'm trying for this team. This gives me something I've used before. I know how it functions, and if need be, I can just rely on it to do its thing because I know how it works. So moving off that, I wanted to finish off my Fairy Dragon Steel core, move towards moving into my other cores, and I had something else that worked really well with Fini. I wanted something else that patched up Zygarde's weaknesses a little bit, and I wanted something that would pair with Fini. I wanted some hazards, and so something else I've used before on this channel. But next up, we're using Heatran Stardream. The Heatran, an absolute beauty, a Fire and Steel type with the Flash Fire ability and great stats across the board. It's very strong at base 130 special attack and a great dual stab in Magma Storm or Flamethrower or whatever, and Flash Cannon. Gets other good moves such as Dark Pulse, Dragon Pulse, and Earth Power. It can set Stealth Rocks, it can Roar. I believe it can do, it can set Status, Will-O-Wisp, and Toxic, and do a bunch of great things. Stardream Heatran for this team I really enjoy because it absolutely gobbles up every move that Zygarde doesn't want to take on. A Triple Axle or a Draco or a Strange Steam or a Moonblast. Heatran just eats all of those up, so I'm really liking that. Obviously, it's got that huge ground immunity. Zygarde is an okay edge quick switch as its Fini, so I'm okay with that option. It is a little slow at base 77 speed, but it builds a nice defensive speed tier with Fini, and it's got great bulk at 91 at 106, 106. So it also has decent physical attack if I wanted to run something like Heat Crash or something. That could be an option I run with Heatran, but this is again another mon I've used quite extensively in the past. I really love Heatran. It's a great versatile mon, and with Fini and Zygarde also being very versatile, it gives me the option to if I want to run Spectre Scarf Heatran this week, just bonk some stuff with Eruption or something. I have the option to do so. But it's again a mon that really complements Zygarde and is something I'm familiar with, so it gives me again an air of comfortability that just lets me try it out without being too far out of my comfort zone. So I'm absolutely loving it. It gives me a fire immunity off the bat. If I need it for anything else down the line, I'm really liking that option, and just a phenomenal typing, a bunch of great tools that I can use in any match essentially, and just something that I love using, and I'm very excited to do so. And now moving into my next pick, I've got my Fairy Dragon Steel core completed. I'm almost done with my Fire Water Grass, and there was something else I wanted to use. I was helping my buddy Heg, try to team build, and I was looking at some stuff. I made a suggestion for him. And I was like, hey, why don't you look at this mon? And I started looking at all the stuff, and I had never seen this before. I was like, oh my god, this thing's move pool is absolutely insane. And if you watched the PCC on my channel, you might have seen that I got absolutely bodied by this recently. Not by the set I expected, but if I run Band 1 week, it'll be named for Finicky, I guess. But my next pick was Celebi. Celebi's a really cool grass and psychic type with base 100 across the board and the natural cure ability. Like I said, this thing's move pool is absolutely insane. It runs physically offensive, specially offensive, support, just does everything. It's got great dual stab and Zen Headbutt and Leaf Blade on the physical side, Psychic and Psyshock and Leaf Storm on the special side, and it does have good coverage with moves like Earth Power and Dazzling Gleam as well. It can U-turn around, set Stealth Rocks, recover, it can Swords Dance and Nasty Plot. It does a bunch of stuff, I think it can, trick room. I know it can trick, do a bunch of stuff. So obviously it's got that big U-turn weakness, but my previous picks in Tapu Fini and Heatran, those things gobble up U-turns for days. I lose momentum, sure, but Celebi can do a whole bunch of different stuff, and it keeps opponents on your toes. So I'm really liking this option. I used Celebi once before in the past, but that was a long time ago. So I'm excited to jump back into it and just see how I can explore its versatility and see what comes of it. So definitely liking Celebi. I'm excited for how it complements Heatran. I think the Heatran Tapu Fini Celebi core is very super nice. So really liking that option. Moving to my next pick, I'm noticing an error with my slides, but we're just gonna keep rolling with it. So a little bit of a spoiler alert, but next up, we went with Crobat. Crobat is my next pick. A poison and flying type with the inner focus and infiltrator abilities. It's blistering fast at 130 speed, and it's got pretty solid bulk and attacking stats as well. It's got good moves such as Brave Bird, U-Turn, Roost, Defog, Taunt. It can run especially offensive sets with Nasty Plow with moves like Sludge Bomb, Heat Wave, and Giga Drain. It can be support, physically offensive. Choice band sets are always good. Nasty Bat, just like I said. And it just does a whole bunch of stuff. This gives me a great form of speed control for the team. Before this, my team was fairly slow, besides, maybe Celebi as a Scarf option. But Crobat is a great mon. It does a whole bunch of stuff. You can pretty much just run support every single week. This gets me a great defogger with heavy duty boots that I can just slap onto pretty much any team. I could also just run, something like Choice Band or offensive sets. So my opponent definitely has to stay on their toes. Inner Focus is a great ability. If he's got something like an Intimidate mon, I can blast right through that. Infiltrator is also great for going through subs. Smacking something with a Brave Bird or getting a Toxic off on something else. If there's a Suicune behind a sub, I can just Toxic that straight away. Whittle that thing down. So really liking Crobat. I used this a couple seasons ago in SDF before I was on YouTube, and that thing did a great job for me. I brought offensive a lot, and it just bonks some stuff. So really enjoying Crobat for this team. I'm loving the speed control, and I'm definitely enjoying the synergy it gives me with the rest of my team so far. So looking into my next pick, I'm really enjoying the mons I've got so far. I've got some great synergy going on. I got some great versatility and bulk. But something I wanted for this team was Sticky Webs. I think that Zygarde has a lot of potential, but a lot of that potential comes from Coil. I think that running Dragon Dance sometimes is, not necessarily the best option. But Coil is absolutely a beast, and since it's so fast, it runs bulk a lot of the time. So if I can find alternative forms of speeding that up, I thought that would have been incredible. So moving into my next pick, I decided to go with Vikavolt. Vikavolt is a fantastic mon with great versatility and the sticky webs that I wanted, obviously, to go with Zygarde. But Vikavolt is fantastic even without sticky webs. It's a bug and electric type with the levitate ability. Absolutely monstrous special attack at 145 and very solid bulk at 77, 90, and 75 respectively. Gets great dual stab and Thunderbolt and Bug Buzz. Gets other good moves such as Energy Ball and Volt Switch. It can roost for longevity, set those sticky webs, and do a bunch of other stuff as well. It's a very threatening Specs Wall Breaker with a huge special attack stat. It can run heavy duty boot sets that are for pivoting or setting webs or just being defensive with roost and all that stuff. So I have not used Vikavolt before, but I'm very excited to. Just the combination of its great bulk, offensive stats, and sticky webs makes it an absolute threat. You have to plan for sticky webs every single week, because if you don't, and then I slap on, like a Banded Zygarde or a Coil Zygarde or a Specs Heatran, and I just crap all over your team, you're going to be, in a pretty rough spot. So, and even without, sticky webs, Vikavolt can still do a bunch of stuff. If you don't have something for its dual stab, and I'm running Specs, or even just max special attack Modest, this thing is bonking something if it comes in. Because not a whole lot wants to switch into Thunderbolt plus Bug Buzz. Even some of those pesky, water types are absolutely going to get smacked by an Energy Ball as well. So really excited to use Vikavolt this season. I think it's going to do a great job, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it pans out. Going to my next pick, I had a mon that I really wanted to use. I thought it fit incredibly well onto the team, and I'd gotten sniped down a lot in the past. So I was like, all right, I think I want to take this mon next, but then I was like, no. Going into this draft, besides Zygarde, I had one mon that I was like, I'm going to use this. And if it gets sniped, I'm going to just cry, because I've been using it a lot on ladder. And it's just an absolute blast. I'm super excited to see how it turns out. So with my next pick, I decided to go with Froslass. I really wanted to use Froslass just because this mon is an absolute sleeper for me, especially for the amount of points it cost. I think it was only 9 points. But this thing is an absolute monster. It's an Ice and Ghost type with the Snow Cloak and Cursed Body abilities. Its attacking stats aren't that super great, 80 in both, but it is a pretty solid mixed attacker and does have great speed at base 110. This thing's move pool is really where it shines, pretty much just because of its dual stab. It can run physical and special both incredibly well. On the physical side, it gets great dual stab in Triple Axle and Poltergeist. On the special side, it can run Ice Beam and Shadow Ball. It unfortunately doesn't get Freeze Dry, which is a shame that I learned recently, but it also gets Thunderbolt to help out with that, hitting those pesky bulky waters. Besides running offensive sets, it can do a whole bunch of different stuff. It can be a nice lead with stuff like Taunt and Spikes. It can, run Choice Scarf sets, Choice Spec sets, Choice Band sets, Heavy Duty Boots, just a whole bunch of different stuff. So I'm really excited for Froslass. You kind of have to bring, a mixed bulky set to, figure out which of these is going to come in. Maybe if a Rocky Helmet mon really pressures me hard, I can just smack on Ice Beam, bonk that thing really good. So I'm really excited for using Froslass. I think it's going to be a really fun time. I love Triple Axle. It's my favorite move. Gotta gamble, life's a gamble. So expect me to just absolutely try to mash some stuff with Triple Axle this season, because I think it's funny and you get to, get excited along with me to see if I hit any of them. So I'm very excited to use Froslass this season. I have high expectations, but even if, Froslass is the worst performing mon on my team, I'm still going to have fun using her. Next up, going to my next pick. Like I said, I had a mon that I wanted to grab. It got sniped a lot, and I really wanted the ice resist, especially for Zygarde, and the fire resist as well for other stuff on my team, such as Vikal and Frostlass. So with my next pick, I went Miltank. Miltank is a piece of crap. I think it's ugly and stupid, and it's annoying, but at this point, it's my ugly, stupid, annoying mon, so I'm okay with that. It's a very bulky normal type with 95 HP, 105 defense, and then 100 in speed, making it very, very fast for a defensive mon. It pretty much runs the same moves every single week. It runs stuff like, Seismic Toss, Milk Drink, Stealth Rock, maybe Heal Bell, maybe Thunder Wave, maybe Toxic, something like that. But what it does very, very well. Unless you've got a fat fighting type that can smack you really hard, this thing can chip you down super easily with Seismic Toss and Rocky Helmet. It's a great cleric for the team. Milk Drink is just super, super free, and it's got a bunch of great abilities. Thick Fat for, those ice moves that Zygarde might not enjoy, those fire type moves that, something like Frostlass or Vikavolt might not enjoy. Scrappy lets me Seismic Toss everything for consistent damage, and then Sap Sipper gives me a great grass immunity and a boosting option to boost my attack if I'm running, an offensive set for whatever reason, but gives me an immunity to Leech Seed and also some just pesky grass moves coming off other stuff. But this lets me take on something like a Celesteela way, way better. So really enjoying Miltank. I tried using Miltank once. It didn't super well, fit the team super well. I ended up dropping it. But I almost lost to a Miltank the other day in a finals match. So I have high expectations for Miltank after that. Because, if Miltank can go that crazy in a finals match against a pretty crazy team, then I think it'll do just fine on this one. Moving into my next pick. I had a couple types that I really, really needed on this team. I didn't have a fighting type yet, and I didn't have a dark type. I was looking at a couple different things. I was looking at Scrafty possibly. Scrafty got taken, so moving into my next pick, this is a mon again I've used before. Haven't used it in SDF yet, but when I did use it, it was an absolute blast. I went with Pangoro. Pangoro is a great mon with a fantastic typing and fighting dark, obviously. It's got a fantastic dual stab and knockoff in close combat, and a variety of great coverage moves. It gets Bullet Punch, Gunk Shot, Iron Head, the Elemental Punches, Drain Punch, a bunch of stuff. It gets a great pivoting option and Parting Shot, and it can run Choice Band and Life Orb sets incredibly easily. It gets Bulk Up and Swords Dance for boosting, and it gets 3 fantastic abilities. Iron Fist boosts up all those punch moves, such as Bullet Punch, the Elemental Punches, and Drain Punch. Mold Breaker lets me smash a bunch of stuff, if I'm running a Swords Dance set and there's an Unaware Mon, that thing is just going right out the window. And Scrappy lets me hit everything with a close combat, if there's some pesky ghost type that for whatever reason I don't want to knock off or something, I guess I can close combat it through. But it also gives me that great immunity to Intimidate. If something like Lando T is there, he wants to try to switch into me, I can smack that thing with a neutral Ice Punch or something of the sort. So I'm very excited to use Pangoro. It's an absolute monster. You got to prep for it. It absolutely bodies things in prep. It is pretty slow at base 58 speed, but it does have that phenomenal 124 attack stat and just unparalleled dual stab, essentially, that just makes it an absolute monster. It also has pretty decent HP, so I can slap something like an Assault Vest onto it if I need to take some moves. If I need a bulky dark type, if I'm going up against, a big dark or ghost type that doesn't get Dazzling Gleam, obviously. That big fairy weakness is unfortunate, but I do have stuff like E-Train and Crobat that can switch into those big fairy moves. Regardless, I'm very excited for Pangoro. I think it's a great offensive threat, and Parting Shot will give me a lot of good opportunities to get into other mons on the team. And then last but not least, I needed one more mon. I wanted a secondary ground type to back up Zygarde. And, originally on this team, I did draft Rhydon. I thought Rhydon was going to be really, really cool just because it's big and bulky and is great with Eviolite. But after the draft shook out, I was like, wow, my hazard control is atrocious. Because I realistically only had like Crobat and Feeny for Defog, and I was like, that's kind of unacceptable. I don't want to lose to hazards. So in the grace period, I decided to add Sandslash over Rhydon. Rip Rhydon forever in our hearts, but Sandslash is looking very, very good. Sandslash is a pure ground type with the Sand Veil and Sand Rush abilities. It's got pretty decent bulk, 75 HP and 110 defense. Special defense is obviously very lackluster, but it can invest sometimes to cover that. It's got pretty decent attack at base 100 and pretty solid move pool, stuff like Earthquake, Knockoff, and Stone Edge. It gets Stealth Rocks, Rapid Spin, and Spikes, which is phenomenal for hazard control. It can hazard stack, get rid of hazards. It gets some other good it gets some other good supporting moves as well, such as Super Fang and Toxic. So I'm really liking Sandslash for this team. It just gives me a secondary ground type for Zygarde in case I don't want to switch in, to a huge move, or I don't want to waste my Zygarde on a potential, ice move going into this. So I'm really liking Sandslash for this team. It just gives me great hazard control, a secondary ground type, and if I go up against a sand team at some point, I can have a Sand Rusher to counter, maybe. I don't really know. That'd be pretty funny, but otherwise, it's here for hazard control, essentially, and for another electric immunity. But I'm very excited for Sandslash. It only came once when I used it last time in NPBA, so I'm excited to see how he does this time. But that is the team we are rocking with for this season. This is going to be a very, very good time. I'm very excited to see how Zygarde pans out, and I'm also excited to see how Tapu Fini and Heatran do as well. Obviously, I'm excited to see how Frostlass does, because that's kind of what I wanted to use. If it is horrible, it's horrible, but I think I still have pretty high hopes for it. So that is the team. Like I said, if you guys are stoked for this season of the SDF, please be sure to leave a like down below. Comment your favorite Pokemon. If you think there's anything I should change, if there's some huge oversight I missed, please be sure to let me know, and I'll change that up for you. We got our first week battle coming up very, very shortly against G4 and the Goodra Gang. That's going to be a phenomenal match. This team is incredibly scary. Stuff like Mega Gallade, which we've used the past 2 seasons, Hydreigon, Corviknight, Zeraora. It's going to be an absolute blast, so be sure to watch out for that. And for all the rest of the matches this season, we do have some other coaches making videos, I'm pretty sure. Bad Guy Cam, I believe, is making videos as well, so I'll be sure to link his channel in the description box below so you guys can check out his amazing content. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching this video as always, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.